Hey everyone, this is Mark, and in this video I'm going to share with you my plans for 2021 and what is coming up on the channel. Are you ready? Let's go. Hey everyone, this is Mark, and it is hard to believe today is the last day of 2020. I don't know what's going to happen in 2021. I don't think it's going to be like overnight everything will be better, but hopefully things will improve gradually over the course of the next year. So as I said, I want to take a look at a few things that happened in 2020, but also look ahead at 2021, talk about some of the things that I want to do on the channel here, and some of the information and web design techniques and tutorials and tips that I would like to share with all of you out there. So without further ado, let's get into it by looking back at 2020 first. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Mark Moran, and I am a professional web designer, and I teach web design at the University of Hawaii, West Oahu. And Akamai Websites is where I help new and aspiring web designers level up their professional and freelancing game with tips, techniques, and tutorials. Not like this, because this is not a tip, technique, or tutorial. This is just me talking. But normally there's tips, techniques, and tutorials on the channel. So if you'd like to know more about that, just go ahead and subscribe or click that bell icon notification thingy as well. So the first thing I want to do is look back at 2020, and it's been really an interesting year. I started this channel, well, I started the channel a long time ago, but I really started posting on this channel in the late part of summer in 2020. And it's been great. I had a really good time. I kind of got my feet wet and learned the techniques that I wanted to implement on the channel for video making. It's still kind of new to me, but I'm having a good time with it. And I've gotten some really great feedback from all of you. So thank you so much for your feedback and for paying attention and asking questions. That's really been wonderful. And I can't wait to see what we come up with next. It's also helped me realize just how much I love this topic of web design, especially the UI UX side of things. You know, I really should say UX UI, because UX comes before the UI. And I'll talk about that in a minute. That side of things, and also the development side of things, and WordPress and Elementor and page builders, and working with clients and understanding how to structure your project and moving things from Adobe XD into Elementor and all these cool things that I love to do. It's been really nice being able to share that information with all of you guys. So that's been a great part of 2020 for me. The other thing it helped me do is realize that I really only know a small part of this whole web design and development puzzle. It's a really vast topic with way more information than any one person could possibly know. And I've always been much more on the UI UX side of things. I really like working with clients and helping them understand what their options are, and then coming up with a strategy and a plan, identifying the users and their needs, and finding a design that matches those needs, and as well as the requirements of functionality for the website, and then building that on top of that. And so I use a lot of tools to build, but I haven't really gotten my feet wet with the back-end technology or even some of the front-end technology in quite a while. I'm very rusty on some of those things. And so one of the things I want to do in 2021 is really explore those a little bit further. So in 2021, I am going to still be talking about the UX UI side of things and how to come up with a good cohesive user experience, how to work with clients, how to manage projects for websites and design projects. I'll still be talking about a lot of that, but I also want to dive deeper into the technology side of things. So I'm going to be spending some time this year really revisiting some of those coding skills that I've become rusty on, and revisiting them with you and sharing some of what I learned with all of you guys. Because some of you may be in the same position I am. You're not really heavy coders. You're not really that interested in coding, but it's still something that I think is helpful or useful to know as a web designer. You need to understand the technology behind what you're designing for. You need to understand kind of the underlying way that it works. And so the best way to do that is to really dive into the coding side of things and then work from there so that your designs are more effective and the interactions you design are more effective. So how I'll do that is I'll be taking a development course coming up to revisit some of those things for myself. I'll be doing some online courses just to get my feet wet again and give myself some projects. And I'll share those projects with you and how I approach them, maybe some of the failures I go through, relearning some of this stuff. And it's going to be painful, I already know that, but that's how you learn. You learn by experimenting and failing and then picking yourself up and trying again and keep trying. So that's going to be what's going to happen over the next several months and year. I also want to share more of the process that I use in my day job as a WordPress designer and developer, and the way that I work with clients, how I communicate with them, how I share information with them. One thing I realized is that effective communication is one of the hardest parts of the whole web design project that a lot of new and aspiring web designers struggle with. How do you talk to a client? How do you get feedback from a client? How do you set their expectations? How do you kick off a project? How do you close out a project? How do you make sure that they love what you did and really enjoyed working with you so you can get referrals or even work for them again in the future? A lot of those things are confusing to new designers, and I see it when I'm teaching students that they focus so much on the design technical side of things that they don't really pay attention to the soft skills that you need to be an effective designer, especially working with clients. So I want to spend some time this year focusing some attention on that area too. Because really, if you think about it, the technical side of things are learnable. There's a ton of great people online who share that information. I don't need to get into how to code HTML. You guys probably know a lot of that already. If you don't, you can learn it in a weekend. It's not that challenging. But how do you communicate? How do you talk to someone? How do you look into their eyes and express information for them in a way that they'll understand it? That's harder to understand or to teach. And so that's some of what I want to sort of work on with you guys and with myself this coming year. I also want to share more of what I do with my students at the university. This next semester, I'll be teaching a class similar to last semester. It's much more on the UX UI side, working on user personas, use case scenarios, requirements for a website, and then coming up with a cohesive design strategy or design system for that website, and then designing it in Adobe XD. So I'll be doing a lot of that with them, and I'm going to share some of that process with you guys too, because I think that's still interesting. Even though there's a lot of great designers out there teaching a lot of great design methodologies, it's always fun or inspirational or educational to see how someone else approaches the same thing. So I want to share some of my approach with you, and maybe I can learn something from you guys too. So I did create a little bit of a bullet list here of all the things, I have my iPad, of all the things that I want to share with you, or at least touch on this coming year. And it's a big, long list, so it's going to keep us busy. On the UX design side of things, I want to get into user personas, sitemaps, wireframes, functionality requirements, how to understand user goals, doing user research, user flows. That's all part of the UX puzzle, understanding the user experience. And then on the UI side of things, UI design with Adobe XD primarily. I might try and get into some Figma. It's not my strongest piece of software. I'm much stronger with Adobe XD, but they all kind of are related anyway. Coming up with design systems, color palettes, style guides, mood boards, typography, and selecting imagery, all of that kind of stuff. Getting in a little deeper. And I've touched on some of those things in the videos I've made so far, but I want to get a little deeper into the nitty-gritty of things so that you can actually, if you look back at my videos, my very first video where I talk about, I guess my second video, where I introduced my entire framework for web design and the 4 parts of that framework, I just sort of gloss over a lot of those things in the videos that came after that, because I wanted to get through to the end so you could see sort of the big picture view. But what I'd like to do this year is really get into each of those specific areas so you get a much more fleshed out picture of how the whole design system works, from initial client communication all the way to the final delivery and maintenance on a website. There's so many moving pieces and parts to this whole process that I think are worth diving into with a little more detail. So at least you can see how one designer, me, deals with those. But there's a lot of ways to do it. I'm going to try and get into them, and hopefully that's information that's interesting to you guys, or at least helpful. And then, as I said, on the business side, I want to get into how to work with clients, project management and communication, how to set that stuff up, how to set up project management tools, whether it's like a managed WP thing, which is more for maintenance, or a client portal on the website, how to inform clients, how to run client meetings, things like that are really important. How to do a handoff, how to train your client to use their website, how to set up documentation, whether it's visual or written or images or whatever. How to set up website maintenance, and how to think about agreements. And I'm not a legal professional, so don't take legal advice from me, but there are certain things I think are important to have within an agreement that you have with a client. So just things to cover your bases and make sure that you're communicating clearly what the expectations are and setting those expectations correctly. And then within WordPress itself, I want to still get into some of the plugins I use, how I structure sites, website hosting, using more Elementor Pro stuff, how to use Crockle blocks for more full-featured, database-driven type of website stuff. Sort of like a custom post types, but also using the Crockle blocks version of that, Jet Engine. Also email hosting, all that kind of like WordPressy kind of things that are interesting to know. And maybe playing around with some other builders. I've been playing around with Oxygen lately. I have Brizzy Builder, which I haven't used much. So a lot of these things I'd like to try out and play with and get a little more experience with, and I'd like to share that with you too. And then, as I said, I want to get much more into web development stuff. So I want to get into setting up my dev environment, the code editors I use, mostly VS Code, but sometimes I use Brackets or Atom or something like that. How to test my sites, different browsers, and bug testing using the browser dev tools. And then getting into coding, HTML, CSS, Sass, maybe playing around with Tailwind, which I haven't really played with much. I know some Bootstrap, but I'm rusty again on that. And then getting into JavaScript, which I'm really rusty at. I know the basics, how to do variables, arrays, some functions, things like that, but it's been a while, so I need to get back into that stuff. How to work with the DOM, maybe getting into some jQuery or some working in Node.js or more command line interface stuff, getting around the command line, package managers, things like that. Things I'm not as experienced with. GitHub, which I have experience with, but it's been a little while, so a lot of that stuff I really want to get back into and really hone my skills in that. If 2020 has taught me anything, it's that you really don't know what's going to happen a week from now, a day from now, a month from now. Design side, I think I'm okay. Technical side, I need some work. So that's what I'll be working on in 2021, and I'm going to be sharing that journey with you guys. Hopefully it's interesting, and I'd love to hear more about maybe what you'd like to learn, or what you're learning, or what you're planning for 2021, what your goals are. That'll be my question for today. What's your plan, and what do you want to learn in 2021? Let me know. Put it in the comments below. So that's it for this video. Just kind of getting outside and doing something a little bit different. I'm always cooped up in front of the computer, so I thought I'd go outside today and share a video with you guys about what my plans are for 2021, and hopefully it's going to be a good year. I have a feeling it'll be a better year than this past year. I really hope. It can't be that much worse, right? So thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful Happy New Year 2021, and until next time, stay Akamai.